Good evening, Bashar.
And a you good day.
I have a question about Adam and Eve.
Yes.
And
Adama
yes,
and Eva,
Eva.
the male line, the female line of the first humans created by the Anunnaki.
Yes.
Yes.
So can you clarify or give me the actual story about the Garden of Eden, the
Yes.
tree of knowledge, the snake and the apple and all of that?
Yes. Again, the extraterrestrial race, known as the Anu or Anunnaki, decided to infuse their genetic material into the natural hominid that evolved on your planet that you refer to now as, generally speaking, Homo erectus, Homo habilis, about 300 to 500,000 of your years ago. And in creating from that genetic manipulation, that genetic fusion, what you now recognize yourselves to be as Homo sapien. With me so far?
Yes.
All right. The idea of the snake represents the knowledge, the wisdom of the Anunnaki, especially with regard to the idea of genetics. The spiral, yes? The snake. That's why the double snakes are still on your medical caduceus. It represents the idea of DNA. But the idea is that the Anunnaki didn't want the humans to have that knowledge. They wanted them to remain somewhat subservient. Therefore, the idea of eating of the knowledge, yes,
Yes.
would be something that would be forbidden. Now, in terms of the general Garden of Eden, there were actually many spots on your planets where the Anunnaki had these genetic laboratories, but one of the main ones was in what you call the area of the Middle East. In that area near the Euphrates River, yes? And therefore that was considered the original garden. Eden is simply the name that they gave to that particular base. You follow? Yes, no?
Oh, that particular
Am I losing
area.
you?
Okay.
Yes, that particular area.
Okay.
Eden in their language. Yes? Eden. Eden. So the idea eventually is that the majority of Anunnaki who had not come to the planet recognized what the Anunnaki who did come to your planet had done. It was actually against their laws for them to have done that. And so eventually the Anunnaki that came to your world were recalled. And then it was understood that now that they had created the humans, they had to be guided to some degree. And so now and then the Anunnaki came, but the humans still had a lot of genetic markers turned off. Some of the Anunnaki then became their guides, became their tutors, helped them to grow over time. But at a certain point, they had to let them grow on their own. They had to see what they would do with the information they were given by different sources from off your world. And because of the way that was initiated to begin with, it's why the early humans considered the Anunnaki gods. And it is because of that relationship that was created that you actually have religion on your planet today. Otherwise, you wouldn't have. You understand?
Yes.
The very
we would see
idea-
ourselves as God.
You would
instead
see
of
yourselves
other
as
than.
God. You would have a direct spiritual connection to creation. You wouldn't need intermediaries. You wouldn't think that anyone was better than you, greater than you, over you, or anything like that. You understand?
Got it.
And all of the so-called commandments and laws and rules are all very limited interpretations of the true underpinning knowledge that was given, but was misinterpreted because, again, humans at the time didn't necessarily have the genetic capacity to fully understand, but the guides knew it would take time, as it has taken many thousands of years, to get to this point where you finally are remembering, finally opening up those genetic markers, finally expanding your consciousness to the degree that you can finally acknowledge that you are aspects of all that is. And that's why these conversations are now capable of happening, because you have reached a level where your vibrational state is compatible enough with the delivery of this information that we and others are allowed to do it. It's now something that can serve you and not just confuse you, although obviously there is still a lot of misinterpretation that happens based on some of the information that we and others have shared with all of you. But You're getting over it. Yes?
Yes.
Is this helping?
Yeah, so you said our markers open up over time. Is there
Yes.
like a certain point where all the markers will be open?
Eventually, yes.
Okay.
And that's why we give you the basic formula, because that's what's going to open the markers in the easiest possible way, the strongest possible way. Act on your passion. It's the highest frequency you can experience. And it's that high frequency that you raise your vibration, you make yourself a more sensitive antenna, and things come into alignment. Markers open. You start receiving more. You start perceiving more. You start understanding more. You start seeing in different ways. Your perspective changes. And then you accelerate from there. So following the formula is the strongest, simplest tool we can share with you to help activate those markers in the most positive way.
Okay. Thank you. And
Yes?
so another question. I was in the snow this
Yes.
last winter,
All right.
and I was driving and hiking in the snow, and I was following some wolf tracks.
Yes.
And next to them were some really unusual looking tracks.
Yes.
And they went up to a small hillside and over a fence, and they stopped about 1.5 feet before the fence, and they started again another 1.5 feet above the fence. There's no human
Yes.
that can jump in 8 inches of snow, like up over a fence,
Well, not yet.
uphill.
Not yet. But the idea is that in the form it was in, you're right. It wasn't what you would consider to be exactly human. It was a shapeshifter walking with the wolf.
What shapeshifter?
What shapeshifter?
Yes.
I don't have a name for you. All I can do is sense that it was shapeshifter energy. Something you might recognize as shamanic, as an individual who has the capacity, has learned the capacity.
Oh,
Of
so it was an
shapeshifting?
actual individual
Yes.
that did that.
Yes.
Why was I able to perceive?
Why were you able to perceive the footprints? What are you asking?
Okay, so if a shapeshifter is shape-shifting,
Yes.
wouldn't I need to be in a certain vibration to perceive the shapeshift?
But you didn't perceive the shapeshift, you perceived the remnants of the tracks. Isn't that correct? Isn't that what you
Yes.
said? You just perceived the footprints. Yes?
Yes.
Well, those are marks left in your reality. Why wouldn't you perceive those?
So how far does this shape-shifting thing go?
What does that mean?
How is this?
How does it work?
Yeah.
All right. Understand that it involves not the idea necessarily of the rearrangement of actual molecules in a body. That's not what happens. Shapeshifter is the third level of the 5 levels of mastery that Willa Hilla-Chrissing has described to you all. Starts with cryptic, goes into nocturnal, goes into shapeshifter, goes into sage, goes into wraith. The 5 levels of mastery. The idea is that shapeshifters have gotten to a point where they're so connected to other parallel reality versions of themselves that they can actually shift in a way that allows them to express that parallel reality version of themselves so strongly that they can actually allow you, if you were to actually see them change their shape, actually allow you to share the vibration of that parallel reality enough that you would actually see them in a different form. It's like they get you to peer into the parallel reality where they have a different form. They start becoming literally tunnels into parallel realities. That's what shape-shifting is. It has nothing to do with this actually changing your molecules. Does that make sense to you? Do you understand this description?
Yeah, I'm just curious about who it was. Who was that?
Well, there are such people on your planet. They're rare. And again, as I said, many of them actually are recognized as indigenous shamans. Many of the indigenous people that you call shamans, medicine people, so on and so forth, understand these things and have understood them for thousands of years.
Right.
Many of them haven't forgotten how to do this. Therefore, some of them have the ability to exhibit this. But I can't give you a name, per se, because they shapeshifted. Therefore, they're not necessarily representing themselves as who they might be in what you consider to be your reality.
It could be a future version.
Well, euphemistically, yes, although again, remember, everything exists at once. That's why they can shapeshift, because those other parallel versions exist at the same time.
Okay, it just clicked.
Does that help?
Yeah.
So, if you would like, if it helps, that was the shapeshifter Murray. But that's just a label. Yes?
Yeah.
All right. Now, someday, if you actually encounter one face to face, they may give you a name. But what name is it?
Well,
The
how would I
name
know?
of the one that they are on your world? The name of who they are on another parallel plane? And how do you know which one you're actually meeting?
Right.
Yes?
Right.
So,
They're like a
understand.
shapeshifter code, like a special handshake or something.
Well, I will tell you this, and this is information that came from Willa. Because shapeshifters can take or appear to take many different forms, in their naming, they tend to be singly named. They'll choose one name and one name only. For example, in Willa's reality, there is a shapeshifter called Variabilis. That's not who you encountered, but that's the name. That's it. It's more of a recognition of what that being is. Shapeshifters tend to take single names because they have so many personas. And therefore, it would simply be too confusing to have names for all of them. So it's more like Variabilis as this, Variabilis as that. This Variabilis, Variabilis A, Variabilis B, Variabilis C, Variabilis Prime.
Yeah. Got
They
it.
don't really lock into the name so much because that's not what they're about. Does that help?
Yes.
Yes.
Last one. I was on the ocean and I was
Yes.
listening to your meditations
Yes.
with the whales,
Yes.
and I started sensing different breaths,
Yes.
like a really long, deep breath and a little short breath and
Yes.
all these different breaths, and they're all coming around my chest, around my heart.
Yes.
And I was sensing all of them, and they're really close, and it
Yes.
felt loving.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, they all synced up. We all synced up together, and we're all one in one breath.
All right. Well, congratulations.
What was that?
You're not going to ask me that, are you? Really? Didn't you actually tell me what it was already? What was the meditation about?
The whales?
There you go. You're experiencing their breath, their heartbeats.
Oh,
You're synchronizing with them.
nice.
Wasn't that obvious?
Well, some of them really short breaths, so I like
Yes.
bird breaths, so I didn't
Yes,
know.
But that's an interim state. Whales, dolphins, they have different levels of breathing within them. This is something that some of your scientists don't know about yet, but you found out. There are different levels to their breath for different reasons and different applications that allow them to do what they do in living in the ocean. It's not just the way you breathe. It's very different. And you found that out. So congratulations.
Okay. And then, well, in that same meditation, I had a golden dragon come up to my side with a couple of jewels on it and a golden staff
Yes. That's another
with the
story.
ruber. What?
That's another story.
You're not going to tell me about you can't help me with my golden suit?
That's another story.
Really?
Really? Now she's breathing dragon fire. You'll want this story at another time.
It'll be more juicy, huh?
Trust me. Trust yourself.
Okay.
Remember, you're participating in the timing here. Synchronicity. Trust
Okay.
it.
All right. Thank
All
you.
right. You're welcome.
Hello, Bashar.
And a you good day.
I always want to name my children lemon, tomato, and cucumber, but I
All
don't
right.
have children in this reality. So I was wondering, will that be the name for my hybrid children?
Well, that will be okay as a start. It may not be what they ultimately choose, but that's okay because most of them will choose names from nature. So you have recognized that these are nature names, and that's fine as a placeholder for now. But they may help you later choose slightly different names.
Okay. I want to know, will I be able to live for another 700 years?
No, not physically, no.
Okay, so will I be able to get a chance to meet Willa in this
No.
physical ride?
No.
No. In a dream?
Yes, you can do that, and you may connect to an incarnational self that might be able to interact with her, but as this personality, no.
Okay.
And you don't need to.
Okay.
Anything else?
I had a dream in my property in mountain at night when I was sleeping. And
Yes.
someone riding a motorcycle approaching to my house.
Yes.
And came from the window. And I want to ask, what are you doing? But I don't have the voice. When I finally find my voice and asking that out, everything dissolved.
Yes.
So is it a visit?
Yes, with a screen memory. You understand screen memory?
No.
In other words, they will project an idea that seems like something relatively normal, but that's not what actually is there. They'll just do that so that it will seem like it's not something so strange.
So what is that really?
An extraterrestrial contact. Most likely some version of a gray.
Okay.
Yes?
Okay. So will I be able to remember more and more?
Yes, eventually.
Okay.
Your hybrid children can help you with that, especially tomato.
Tomato. Okay. Good.
All you have to do is catch up.
Okay. Yes. Full speed. Last year in one transmission, April brought 2 scoops.
Yes.
So what does that scoop for? I mean, what does that mean?
You will need to refer to the original transmission because there was an entire idea built around that that was an interactive exercise.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't just a simple, here's a question, here's an answer. It was for the purpose of developing certain forms of intuition to realize what was actually going on in the interaction.
Okay. Okay.
Yes?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ha'atu.
Hatu.
Thank you for tonight's presentation. I met a young man recently who talked to me about flat Earth, and I couldn't believe what he was saying, so I'll be happy to share what you said tonight.
Up to you. Not that they have to change their mind.
No, he's real open, and when I told him
All right.
about you, I've been giving him some of your CDs, and he's been fascinated.
All right.
Okay.
Up to you.
I have a question on what is my current signature frequency?
At this particular moment,
Yes.
it's fluctuating between 185 and 195,000 cycles per second.
Generally, how close is it to my intentions? My understanding is that we match our frequency or our vibration to what we're intending.
In a sense, although that's an oversimplification, remember that the kind of frequency that we're describing to you is not something that your science even understands yet.
Okay.
We're not talking about brain frequencies and things like that.
Okay.
This is an overall signature vibration that extends into multidimensional levels of your being.
Okay.
So how often is it aligned with your intention is a little bit of an open-ended question because it depends on what you mean by intention.
So when I channel each night, it is raised.
Yes.
Okay. My next question is related to fourth density.
Yes.
And you've presented a lot of very fascinating material on this.
Yes.
And one of my goals is to be working in moving into that density.
Well, you are.
And any suggestions on
How?
where I am or
Where you are.
how far I am
You are
into fourth density?
there.
Okay, all right.
You are here. You are now.
Okay.
The more you know that, the more you will
Okay.
live a fourth density life.
Good.
Yes?
Good. Thank you.
Yes.
I connect with nature. And
Yes.
each night I live in a retirement
One
community.
moment. One
Sorry.
moment. I know what you mean by that, but let's rewind that.
Okay.
You connect with nature.
Well, I talk to nature.
You talk to nature.
I talk to trees.
I know you talk to trees, but we're making a point
Okay.
that will help you again understand something in a more present state of being.
Okay.
You don't connect with nature. You don't talk to nature. You are
Right.
nature.
Right. I understand that.
All right.
I misspoke. As I go to the pool each night, I live in a retirement community. There's two trees that I've been connecting with
Yes.
for a number of years. And one night, we share energies, and one night, as I was sharing energy, I got the impression, give us a name.
Yes.
And so as I came back from the pool, a name came to me, literally for me, out of the blue.
Yes.
And I approached the tree and I said, this name, Ramona, just came to me. Where did it come from? And what I got was it came from us. And my question is that true?
What's the name?
Ramona.
Yes, it came from them.
Okay.
But it came from more than them.
Okay.
It came through them,
Okay.
from a nature spirit entity that you are dealing with.
Oh, great. I love it. Thanks.
Yes.
Thanks. That's very good. That's basically it. Thank you.
You are welcome.